I swear this anime just refuses to have like a bad or mediocre episode because every single week they do a great job of getting me hyped, getting me excited. What is up, guys? It is your favorite otaku Lotus here today, and welcome back to the Nerd Corner. In today's video, I'm giving you my review of my thoughts on episode 9 of Boku no Hero Academia, aka My Hero Academia. Now, this episode was pretty good in my opinion. It wasn't very action-packed. It wasn't really hype, but it did a good job of what it was supposed to do, and that's set up for next week. Because I can already tell you now, next week's episode is going to be tight. Now, this episode did not have the amazing soundtrack and the music from episode 8. It did not have the action-packed fights and the hype from episode 7 with Izuku versus Bakugo, because that fight was dope. I think that was the best episode in the series thus far. But this episode was really well balanced, and it did a good job of what it's supposed to do. Because think about it, episode 1 was pretty good for a first episode, but it built up episode 2 really well, and it made episode 2 seem that much better. Episode 2 was a great episode. Episode 3 was another one of those episodes where not a lot of eventful things happened. I believe that episode was called Roaring Muscles. And then the next episode was episode 4, and that was Start Line. And that episode was great, and it was built up very well by episode 3. Then we had episode 6, where again, it wasn't very eventful. It was interesting, it was fun to watch. We did get a little bit of action and some things like that. But then episode 7 was where things really took off. And I feel like this week is another one of those episodes where, even though not a lot of eventful things happen, we got a good mix of a little bit of everything. And then next week is going to be really hype, really action-packed, really intense. Plus, as a manga reader, I already know the events that are going to happen in the next episode, so I can already tell you that there will be action. But what I'm really trying to get at is that this episode was great setup, and it's just going to make next week seem that much better, in my opinion. And I think everyone's going to really enjoy it, because it hasn't let us down yet. Like in my opinion, this series has yet to have a mediocre episode. And then every time we get one of these setups, it's great, because the following week it's hype as fuck. So I already know it's going to be really great, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. Now, to go over what happened in this episode, in the beginning we see basically the press, the paparazzi, being annoying outside of the school, which honestly, it really annoyed me. Like, I could understand nobody wanting to talk to them, because if it was me in that position, I wouldn't want to talk to them either. Like, you're all up in my face, like, bro, I'm just trying to go to school, I'm just trying to get to class, and you asking me about my teachers. And then when they finally did get someone who would talk to them, it was Tenya, and of course he gave them like the good scholarly answer, and they just thought that was really boring, and they kind of zoned out, and all they wanted to do was talk to All Might or get someone that was talking about All Might. And the only person that would talk to them was Tenya, and he wasn't really giving them what they wanted. So sucks to suck, but hey, that's what you get for being a scummy and annoying paparazzi. But anyway, moving on, we get to see that everyone's in homeroom and they're choosing a class representative, and it turns out that Izuku actually wins 3 votes, and he, I guess most people kind of voted from themselves, I assume. And then in the end, Izuku won with 3 votes, which is just 1 vote more than Momo got. She got 2 votes, and understandably so. It stands to reason as to why people would want her as a class representative, because after the display of like intelligence and knowledge that she portrayed in last week's episode, after analyzing the fight between Izuku and Bakugo, and then giving the breakdown as to why Iida did the best in that exam, it makes sense as to why people kind of found respect for her and think that she would make a good class representative. But in the end, I guess Izuku's kind of the more popular one. He's more well known, he's flashier, so people voted for him. He won. And then we see like the media, they broke into the school sort of, and they're trespassing, and they're hounding Eraserhead, and I forget the microphone hero's name. I want to say it's like a Big Mike or Super Mike. I can't remember the microphone hero. I forget his name, but yeah, they're harassing those two, and eventually the police come and they get the media out of the way. But then we see that the gate was actually destroyed. Like, it was turned to dust. Like, this impenetrable defense force that was set up around the school, it's been turned to like straight dust, and it's like kind of an ominous like foreshadowing of like, yo, something bad's gonna happen. Who could have done this? It definitely wasn't the press. So it's foreshadowing to see what's going to happen later on at the end of this episode and in the next week's episode. But it was interesting to see how Tenya stepped forward and basically became the leader that the class needed when everyone was panicking when they realized someone broke into school. But my thing that I don't get is like, yo, this is a school full of kids with superpowers. Like, I don't care if it was the biggest, baddest villain. Alright, I won't say that exactly, but 99% of people who could have possibly broken into that school, there's no way they could take on 100 or hundreds or thousands of kids with powers. Like, yo, regardless of like what quirk you have, you can't stand up to everybody that's in this school right now. So I don't get why people are panicking. Like, I guess Nah, like I can't even justify. Like there's no way, because I can understand if it was a regular school, but every kid in the school has a power of some kind, and you're telling me that they're panicking and freaking out because they think like some super bad villain broke it? Like nah, son. If you all band together, there's no way any villain is taking out the entire school. Like I just don't ever see that happening. And then you got to remember, like you have some of the top heroes. I don't know if it's in the world, but at least in like the country or the city, that are teachers at that school. Like there's no way you should ever be panicking like that. But it was cool to see, you know, Tenya step forward and put everyone at ease and just like, yo, it's just a paparazzi, like don't freak out. And then that got him their respect, and so it was easy for Izuku to pass on the responsibility of class representative on to Tenya, who he really wanted it in the first place. He felt like Izuku would have been the better choice morally, but in the end, it's really him who is the better choice. And Izuku, he was not handling it well in the first place anyway. He was constantly shaking and just nervous as all hell. And it's just very clear that he does not have the confidence or the leadership abilities to be something like a class representative. But yeah, that's that. And then we move on. Eventually we get to USJ, where the students are going to be participating in basically a rescue exam, where they're going to be practicing their skills at rescuing people in all types of disasters, whether it's earthquakes or landslides or shipwrecks and windstorms and things of that nature. And what I thought was really, really cool was 13, the hero 13, because one, I really, really like his... Actually, I don't know if 13 is supposed to be a man or a woman. I'm going to assume it's a man. I think it's a man. If it's a woman, though, forgive me. But I really like his voice, like the distorted robot type effect. I just think it sounds really, really cool, and I was a big fan of that. And I also love the speech he gave. Like, when Izuku was looking at him, like, the way he does, like, googly-eyed all over his favorite heroes. When he was looking at him, he was like, yo, 13's so cool. Like, I was saying that almost exactly at the same time, and I was like, yo, 13 is cool. Because not only was the speech he was giving, like, very inspiring and motivating, the music that was playing, and you guys already know how I am when it comes to like the music in the series, the music that was playing at that moment during that speech was fantastic, and it just fit the scene so very well, and it just elevated that scene and just made it that much more impactful. Also, I just want to point out that the song that was playing when Tenya was giving like his suggestion from, you know, the class representative, the voting system, the guitar strumming in the background, I just thought that sounded really nice as well. But yeah, there were like 2 songs that were playing at the end of this episode when 13 was giving his speech that I just thought were fantastic, and I enjoyed those a lot. And I actually played that scene back a couple of times just so I could keep hearing that song. And then, of course, at the very end of this episode, we see the villains. They broke into USJ right when Eraserhead's about to give, you know, the ready, set, go, or whatever. You know, he's about to declare the start of the exam. That's when the heroes break in and all hell's about to break loose. And next week, judging from the preview and coming from the perspective of a manga reader, next week is going to be really, really dope, and I just can't wait because we're about to see a lot of people in action. We got to see a little bit more of characterization for certain characters. Like we got to see a lot of Kirishima and Kaminari in this episode, which I thought was cool because I think they're pretty cool characters. Like, I do like them. I like their character designs. I like their personalities. I thought it was nice to see, you know, more from them in this episode. And we got to see a lot of Tsuyu too. I won't say a lot of Tsuyu, but a decent amount of Tsuyu, and I like her character a lot as well. She's one of my favorites. And it was just cool to see like everyone ganging up and like making fun of Bakugo in this episode, which I also want to point out. It was funny to see Izuku's reaction, because he's like, oh my god, people are like, they're seriously making fun of Bakugo? Like, I can't believe this. Like, because Bakugo's always been like the big bad bully that picks on everybody else, and he's always top dog. But here at UA, where everybody's a hero and everyone's just as amazing as he is, well, not quite, but where everyone's on almost around the same level as him, it's like he's nothing special and everyone's making fun of him, and it just like blew Izuku's mind. And I just thought that was funny. It like brought him back down to earth, both him and Bakugo. And yeah, that was funny. But like I was saying, next week's episode is going to be great. Can't wait to see more from certain characters. Tsuyu, Kaminari, and Kirishima in particular, because I am a big fan of their characters. And I can't wait to see everybody in action. And I can't wait to see what goes down in next week's episode. I know I won't be disappointed. But yeah, I think I've already rambled on pretty long in this episode review. But there was, surprisingly for an episode where not a lot happened, there's a lot I wanted to talk about. But I'll wrap it up here. That's pretty much everything I want to say. So hit this video with a like if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, what you're thinking about the series as a whole. And with all that being said, that's pretty much all I have for today. So subscribe if you haven't already, so you guys can stay tuned for all the awesome content I plan to bring you. And with all that being said, that's pretty much all I have for today. So I will catch you all next time. Later.